I understand why he would say that. Shopify is not perfect, is the short way of saying. It's a lot of garbage. They've made a lot of decisions.
Not perfect equals a lot of garbage.
Yeah.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Eisner approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dale Bush.
I don't think we're ever going to get this episode started.
Probably not.
Wait, I think we did it.
Oh, wow.
Whoa. After all those false starts,
Yeah.
all the quality, dare I say, gold material we'd already recorded and had to abandon,
Yeah.
that is a lie. We didn't push record at all.
Yeah, mostly just complaints about traffic, so it wasn't really gold material either way.
So, what do you want to talk about? I'm showing Dal my notes, but I'm moving them so fast that he can't actually see them.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for him to pick one.
Why don't you pick, Patrick?
I don't know if you heard about this thing called COVID-19 or the pandemic that shut the city down 3 years ago.
I read about it in a comic book.
And literally 3 years ago right now, the city was closed. The store was closed. We didn't have Shopify or anything.
No.
Once we reopened...
We might have had Shopify by this point.
By April?
I can't remember. Because, we were doing the... here's a download of our...
Here's the PDF of all the graphic novels.
We exported a PDF of our in-stock graphic novels from RMH and then posted them to our normal website and said, you see anything you want, let us know and we'll pull it for you and then we'll bill you and then you can pick them up at Chicago Board Game Cafe, which was still a thing back then.
Right. Right. We were picking them up there.
Because we were not legally allowed to do curbside pickup at that point. Restaurants could. And so a restaurant was like, hey, if you want to leave stuff here, we're like, great, thank you.
Thank you, Eric Arno.
But then, very quickly after, because we also flirted briefly with Comic Hub, and we're like, no, thank you. But then...
The number of people that still rave about Comic Hub and say how all of the problems that Managed Comics has, or, I don't know, League of Comic Book Nerds, or whatever it's called, all these other things, it's like, Comic Hub never has any of those problems. Not our experience.
Yeah, and also we've talked to people who use Comic Hub who did not have a positive experience data-wise and were frustrated with some of the ways that Comic Hub would do things, which is kind of our experience. But
I'm getting off topic slightly, but whenever somebody on one of the forums says, hey, I'm looking for a new POS, what should I use? Everybody's like, here's mine, here's mine, here's mine. And for every time when people are like, Comic Hub is the greatest, it solves everyone's problems, there's always I just quit Comic Hub.
Yeah. We'll come back to the COVID-19 and the early days of it all to set up what Patrick's going to end up wanting to talk about. But I do want to...
Wanting is a strong word.
I do want to just use this brief digression to kind of point out one of the best things about the Managed Comics Shopify integration is that regardless of whatever data issues are happening that might screw with our polls or might not have the correct cover or whatever associated with it when it comes down the pipe from Managed Comics, we can fix all that in Shopify. It is great to be able to once the process is completed, go, I want to put a different cover image on there. I want to change that solicit text. I want to add a bunch of tags. I want to put it in this category. I want to make my website look like this. And those are all things you kind of, to my knowledge, can't do with Comic Hub because all of the data is central for the entire user base.
Also, just a quick, I want to point out that if that's not the case, and someone who's listening uses Comic Hub and can say otherwise, I don't care. Don't tell us.
No, I mean, you can if you want. I don't know that I'll issue a retraction or anything because it's, our experience originally was very much like the advantage of Comic Hub is it's cloud-based, but then the disadvantage for us as a store was it's cloud-based.
I'm very glad that so many people have so many choices and are happy with what they're using.
Yeah, if
this didn't exist 3 years ago, well, Comic Hub did.
Right.
But these choices weren't really there, and the fact that there is a much greater visibility for comics and comic shops online, no matter what you use, That's great.
Yeah, if you're using Comic Hub and it's working out for you, great. I'm glad for you. So Diamond had very quickly done up a tool, I think based on what Comics Experience was doing in San Francisco, because they were one of the first to like export all of their database into Shopify, and Diamond was like, oh, stores are going to want to do that. So here is a tool that allows you to upload a list of Diamond SKUs and then download a spreadsheet of all the relevant data, all of the solicit text, image links to using the Diamond website for access to images, weights, prices, costs, everything. Now,
Things we didn't consider as needing to know to sell online.
the downside for us was that when that went up, that was great, but the Shopify database was separate from our in-store database. We used a program called Octopus eventually, and then just decided we wanted one solid database that was both in-store and online, and that's when we turned to Managed Comics as a solution.
Do you know that Managed Comics often flirts with the idea of separating from Shopify?
Yeah, Brian's mentioned it a few times in emails. I understand why he would say that. Shopify is not perfect, is the short way of saying. It's a lot of garbage. They've made a lot of decisions.
Not perfect equals a lot of garbage.
Yeah. They've made a lot of decisions about how they want their platform to run, both on the admin side and then, out to consumers that don't seem based in any sort of real world experiences. More than that, and this is the thing that as we use Shopify more, a lot of their decisions are like, oh, this is great if you have 50 storefronts. Like, no one in the comics industry has that many storefronts.
Nope.
And that coupled with Shopify kind of being based around like, okay, cool, well, your 50 stores are going to each carry the same 400 items. And, Shopify is going to be the perfect platform for you. It's like, cool, we get 150 new items a week, every week, forever. And on top of that, we have one store. So all of the things that you're doing are wrong for us. So Managed Comics potentially making their own platform where it's based more around, 1 to 10 stores and gigantic 15,000 item databases could maybe be beneficial to us. I would also caution that is a lot of work.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of work.
Brian had mentioned this week, and I forget the number, but how many years it's been that they've been working on this? I want to say 7.
Okay.
I could be horribly wrong, and I apologize if I am.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's Managed Comics 1.0, which was the long-standing online subscription management tool, where it was basically more like Diamond's pull list if you didn't have Comic Suite, where it's like people could go on, they could add things to their subscription list. You as a store, when the books would come in, would print out pulls lists, and in between, you would have to look at that and say, okay, how many subscriptions do I need? But it didn't track sales.
Right.
It was just subscription management. And then 2.0 was the introduction of a Shopify integration that allowed it to be able to eventually, have sales data and be able to move things into carts and that sort of stuff. Not 100% there yet, unfortunately. And again, that's a lot of Shopify issues.
A lot of Shopify issues could be what we rename our podcast to.
Maybe.
I was watching Meanwhile yesterday. This week was all about onboarding, which we don't need because we're onboarded.
Correct.
But then I went back and watched stuff that I missed the last couple weeks.
I'll take this small opportunity to make a plea to Brian Garside. We had sent we'd had a discussion about getting our tagging correct for all the items that predated Managed Comics. And I know he's going through a lot of things with Managed Comics, and there's a lot of things they're working on, and there's a lot of things that Shopify and distributors are doing that's causing him a lot of stress. But if he finds a few minutes of free time to take a look at the spreadsheets that we sent him and spit out the codes that we need, that would be a huge boon to our business. Oh my God. Like if we could have tags on the literally thousands of items that predate Managed Comics and allow people to find them in our storefront online, that would help us with sales substantially. We would love it. Please and thank you.
while we have a wish list, this is a thing that I've never felt comfortable emailing him about because it's so minor and so trivial. I don't want it to be a thing that he has to really spend time on.
Sure.
But one of my just minor everyday things that if I had the ability to change, I would. It's that when you are in Manage Comics and you need to, let's say you're in a search field. Let's say I'm typing up, I want to find out,
Right.
I want to pull up Dal's customer list.
Yes.
So I go to customer and I type Dal. My instinct is always just to hit enter to make it search, to as the search button. But you physically have to click the search
You have to
button.
click the search button.
And I'm sure there's reasons why.
I would almost guarantee you it's a stupid Shopify thing.
Oh, I'm sure it is. But to this day, I still automatically just hit enter and
Yep.
realize, oh no, you have to move the cursor over
Yep.
or tap the screen.
Such an instinct, yeah.
Yeah. Because everywhere else in my life, I still just hit enter.
Sure.
So, and again, I wouldn't even, the idea of emailing about that just seems so trivial.
Right.
And such a Patrick problem and not an issue for the rest of the world.
It's a quality of life thing that does not feel like a priority amongst the other things that we would prefer that the Managed Comics team spend their time working on. It's a thing where if everything else on the roadmap was done, then it would be like, hey, this could be a thing to fix.
And now that I've brought it up,
Uh-huh.
and we're talking about it so passionately,
Uh-huh.
it's already covered up your request.
Oh, okay, good.
It's already buried that.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Your tagging issue has been forgotten.
Challenger sells less books, but Patrick gets to hit the enter key. So really...
Not just everybody gets a hit.
Really?
It's not just me. It benefits. Your thing is just for challengers. My thing is for everyone. Now, who's being more magnanimous or pragmatic?
Oh, does that question need an answer?
No.
Felt self-evident.
That's
I
fair.
don't know.
Just as long as we're on the same page. Anyway,
Anyway.
we're extending our hours.
Yes.
We're not going back to our normal hours, and by normal, that's the wrong word. When we opened
COVID-19 hours.
Yeah, our first, was that 3 years ago? Our first 12-year hours.
Yes.
For the first 12, not quite 12 years we were open, we were 11 to 7
Weekdays.
weekdays, 11 to 5 weekends.
Right.
Once we reopened after COVID, we were 11 to 5 every day, except Wednesdays 11 to 7.
Yeah, and even then, we weren't every day of the week, I think, for, the first
We were
few
closed
weeks.
Sundays
Yeah.
for the first few months.
Yeah, and the intention, and we've talked about this plenty of times, the intention after stores were allowed to reopen was that we would very quickly ramp back up to the normal hours, but one of the things that surprised us was work from home lasted way longer than we thought it would. There didn't seem to be much necessity to keep the store open past 5 because most of our business was happening between 11 and 3. That's not so much the case anymore. In the same way that President Biden has declared that the COVID-19 emergency is officially over, and therefore COVID has been defeated forever. Everyone's going back to work, as in offices and places like that. They are not working from home nearly as much as they used to, which we've definitely noticed in a March that, as we mentioned last time, we were off by $8,000.
Yeah.
A lot of that is my assumption. I don't have any firm proof of this, but it's my assumption, looking around the city and listening to people and trying to be observant. A lot of people have gone back to the office, and so they, A, don't really have time to come to the store as much as they used to. B, when they would come to the store, it was like a break from the routine. I'm at home and I'm working on stuff, but I'll jump out to the comic shop for half an hour, grab my books, see what they've got, and it'll be a nice break from my routine. Now it's I already was at work for 8 hours, and I had a commute home. I don't want to go to the comic shop. I don't want to run an errand. I don't want to do one more thing today.
It's become a chore again.
Right. And so as a result, not only is, casual traffic not happening as much, but a lot of subscribers are coming in less often and needing to be reminded and cajoled in a way that...
Makes us feel bad.
It's a little bit of a bummer to look in the boxes and go, wow, that guy used to come in every single week, and now it's been a month.
We don't want to be pests. We don't want to bother people, but we also want people to buy their books because their books are great.
So yeah, the hope is that by extending our hours... even though it's not back to 11 to 7, we're going to be doing 11 to 6 Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then still 11 to 7 on Wednesdays. The hope is that by extending it at least for 4 additional hours a week, that we're giving people a little bit more of an opportunity to come get their stuff if they are back at work at the office or just not working from home. Hopefully that's good. We'll see.
One of the unexpected side effects of the shortened hours was quality of life issues for us.
Yeah, I definitely... I had never thought to work less hours. I worked whatever hours the store was open on the days I was working. But boy, getting to leave at 5 is great. It's really, really, really great. Especially as I now live farther away from the store and my commute is substantially longer to and from. Yeah.
It was just a thing that we never expected and then really liked and then pushed back against.
Yeah, I mean, it was unclear how much people were not coming in because of the hours. But, I mean, not to beat around the bush or anything, but this is something where March
That's the name of your podcast?
I was thinking you'd do something about that. March was really, 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 really bad for us. And so any possible lever we can pull to try and raise sales back up to a level that is, no joke, sustainable for the store, we're going to pull those levers.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
if we're looking at the hours and it's like, could we be open later and maybe draw in some more traffic? Let's give it a try. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but we got to try something.
And staying open till 7 o'clock for the first 12 years, never even a second thought. Just like that was our hours. That was it.
Yeah, it just seemed like a normal batch of hours. And the reason why we're not going to 11 to 7 weekdays is because we're open till 7 on Wednesdays, and 6 to 7 sucks.
Ghost town.
It's so boring. A couple people come in maybe. It's not very busy. Which is one of the things that led us to believe, like, well, we don't need to be open later because pre-COVID, 5:30 to 7 would be super busy because that's when people were getting off work. We weren't seeing that normal, quote unquote, after work traffic. But maybe at least till 6. I don't know. Sure.
An indicator for us used to be all of our signings were done 5 to 7 on Wednesdays because that was our busiest time.
Right.
Now they're all 11 to 1 on Wednesdays because that's our busiest time.
Yeah. And even then, it's really just 11 to noon.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking back to the being open as 6 to 7 and not really seeing anything, conversely, like on Mondays and Tuesdays, at least for me, I'm seeing like a lot of foot traffic coming in like 4:30 to 5. So the thought is like maybe like that window, it's not as big as it used to be, but maybe it's a little bit wider than, just till 5 o'clock. So yeah, we're going to give it a try. And again, hopefully it's more convenient for folks that have had a tougher time making it in. Hopefully, more casual folks that are walking around the neighborhoods before the sun's gone down, they'll see that we're open, they'll stop in. We're going to give it a try.
There's another bolder try that we're looking at, and it's more of a modernization, an update to the way a shop can be run in a technologically advanced society. And it's
robots.
It's a discussion that you and I had Tuesday morning. That once I started digging into, I've seen how many people have either switched or done away with a 99% stated retention.
Okay.
So the idea of a blanket subscription discount is a thing that stores have just done forever.
Right.
We opened with that. Now, my entire career of retail didn't have that. But when I was a subscriber before I was in retail, that existed. And it became commonplace for comic shops to give discounts to subscribers.
Sure.
Just for subscribing. It was a reward. It was a benefit. It's like, hey, you're saying you're going to buy these books, so we'll give you a discount off of those books as a thank you.
If you agree to buy them from us and you tell us in advance, you will get a discount.
But that's an antiquated system.
Sort of, yeah.
And the number of places that I shop at that have a completely different employee, I guess, reward system. Would you use that phrasing or not?
I wouldn't say employee, but like a...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean a customer.
Sure. A customer rewards program, absolutely.
Customer reward was the word I was emphasizing. I didn't.
Gotcha.
Employee was the wrong thing.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know any place that offers a flat discount for pre-ordering anything. To drill into the idea a little bit, it seems like for a lot of places that I pre-order from, the benefit you get from pre-ordering is you got to pre-order it.
Yeah.
That's being able to reserve it in advance, and especially for a store like us that does not charge you in advance. That is why the places that I pre-order stuff at mostly are ones where I don't have to pay until it comes in. That is the benefit. I've skipped over other online stores that offer similar products if I have to pay in advance. So like the benefit we're giving as a store is just tell us what books you want when they come in. You don't even have to pay for them when they come in, which is where everyone that I order from online charges you. The second they get it, they charge you. We don't even do that. We let you come in when you want to come in and then buy your books. So all of these are like benefits that we never thought of as specifically being benefits, but when you look at them in the wider world, they absolutely are. The additional discount, the 10%, we'll talk more about kind of alternatives to that. We're not entirely certain what we're going to do, but the 10% discount is flatly unsustainable in the current comics marketplace. That 10% is from a time where the industry had way less work built into it and way better profit margins built into it. Everything costs us more now, both in literal dollars and cents, but also in time and resources.
Frustration.
A 10%, and again, for a month where we were off the beam by $8,000, this is another thing that we're looking at where it's like this 10% is unsustainable. 10% may not seem like a lot to a store to give you as a reward for shopping with them, but let me tell you that a lot of shops in Chicago that are no longer with us are specifically not with us because they were offering discounts that they could not sustain, to either undercut competitors or because they felt like they needed to do it. And it is a race to the bottom, and even 10% is like, I can't do it anymore. Like, I don't know that we're officially decided on exactly what we want to do, but
we're not just taking away.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out a way that it's essentially like, what is a system that is equitable,
mutually beneficial,
equitable for fans, but also something that we as a store can make sense of financially. We have to re-examine it in the wake of seismic changes in the industry over the last 3 years. Like, it seems sort of tacky almost, but this is a thing that a lot of businesses have had to do over the last few years as, COVID-19 and supply chain issues and consolidation in the market and whatever have raised prices and made things more difficult to get. And, the increased cost of labor, Challengers brought on people. Like, these are things that there is a higher cost of running our business than there was a few years ago. And so we have to look at where the money's going and what makes the most sense. We do want to have there be some larger reward for shopping at Challengers. So we are talking about what that looks like. But a flat, you get 10% off everything you subscribe to is not necessarily what we're going to be looking at. In some ways, what we're looking at is better. It might be more universal. It might apply to people who aren't even necessarily subscribing. There are things that we're looking at. Rewards programs, like Patrick mentioned, is sort of where our head's at as far as what we need to do in 2023 financially for the store.
And also in keeping with a technologically based business model.
Yeah.
It makes sense, and it's weird that we hadn't thought about doing it before.
Correct.
And I know that there's plenty of different, and all of these decisions rely on outside plans or companies or programs or plugins or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Which we have not finished vetting yet. So, I mean, there's a version of this where maybe we just don't have the discount and everything else stays the same. That is entirely a possibility. I hope that is okay with people. That is not something we look forward to doing necessarily, and we'd like for there to be an alternative, but end of the day, it is very difficult for us to financially justify the 10% pre-order discount. That's obviously, if and when we make that change, it is not retroactive. So anything up to the point where we say this is what the change is, everything is the same. No one's overnight losing their discount to anything, especially anything you've already pre-ordered. If you pre-ordered it under specific terms for the store, those terms stay the same.
That's going to be a problem for really late special orders and things.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Specifically because we're receiving them through Managed Comics, and when you place the pre-order, Managed Comics determines what the price is. So it shouldn't matter if it comes in a month after we make the change or a year after we make the change.
Well, we're still thinking about it, but it is a serious consideration, and it's on the one hand, you want everyone to be happy, but on the other hand, you have to think about, isn't the benefit of shopping at Challengers the benefit of shopping at Challengers?
Yeah, it's a tricky thing because as a store, you basically have to say, we have a value beyond giving you the cheapest goods.
Yeah.
If you are a subscriber and the 10% discount matters to you that much, and you want to be at a store that offers you a cheaper version of your comics, that's fine. I get it. Hopefully that's not a decision a lot of people make, and hopefully, again, we have provided a service or level of service that would account for 10% of what you pay for your books. But again, people are going to make their decision, and that's fine. I don't begrudge anybody who, when we announce what the new version of the rewards looks like, doesn't feel like it's equitable. Then that's fine. We will, help you make a transition to another shop. I've printed out people's subscriber list before so they can take them with them to the new shop. I'll do it again.
Sure.
Also, all of your information is online in your Managed Comics portal, so you don't even need me to do it.
I'm still surprised by the number of people that say, am I down for this book? You could check just as easy as I can.
Yeah.
In fact, you should know more than I do because I have to go look it up, but you should already know.
Here's a tip for folks that they might not know. For folks who are wondering, did I get this already? You can go to your Managed Comics portal, and it has a record of every transaction you've done with us since we've used Managed Comics. Now, only in the last 6 months or so have we been able to track your
specific titles,
subscription sales.
Yeah.
But all that's in there. So if you want to know if you bought a specific graphic novel a few months ago, go take a look. It's all in there. It is a few tabs over from your subscription orders on your Managed Comics portal. I think it's the second to last tab on the right.
I do think that is something that people took for granted before when we were still using Comic Suite, looking up transactions easily.
But again, we can still do that, and we can do that through the admin side of Shopify. But again, like, all of your transactions are in your
account,
on your Managed Comics portal.
You talked about the extra things that we do as challengers, and several of the things I think we do get overlooked so often. And for the second week in a row,
I individually kiss every book that subscribers get, and I don't think they even know. I don't think they think about it.
Well, you do it on different pages for every issue, so it's not just the cover.
No, not the cover. I mean, you don't want to get like moisture and sweat and grease and stuff on.
Well, it depends on the cover stock. Like, you would kiss Dark Ride as much as you want. You're not damaging that cover.
Yeah,
you can run the thing over with a car. For the second Friday in a row, the Friday morning email of like, hey, here's the books that came out this week, caused
a lot of work for Patrick and Gina.
A huge uptick in sales for specific books, which is great.
Yeah.
But for the second week in a row, it's a book that we all hyped since it was solicited.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's people having seen other online reviews.
I guess this is another way of looking at the, like, why are we doing a pre-order discount? When it's like, people don't want to pre-order.
They don't want to pre-order. This week it
Why
was...
tie a discount to that?
So, Dow, can you tell me what the pick of the week for Challengers is? Guardians of the Galaxy, that is correct.
Is it because we're completely sold out of Great British Bake Off?
We have like 2 copies left.
I'll order some more. Happily.
Great, and that's a book that you raved about, I raved about.
Yep. We raved about it on the podcast. We raved about it on the initial order email. We raved about it on the FOC email.
Was it the biggest book on the upcoming...
Maybe. I don't remember.
The...
Upcoming releases? Yeah, maybe.
The pictures we have at the... I do love that George Macon, every time there's a new one, he just looks at it and goes, give me that, give me that.
It's great.
That's several people. There's several people you can point out that use it regularly.
Yeah, which, not to digress, but that's why we...
That's why we do it.
Yeah, we do the promotion for these things in so many different ways because we know that there's no one-size-fits-all for explaining things to people.
Right.
You got to do it in an email. You got to do it in another email. You got to do it in a third email. You got to do it via social media. You've got to do it in store. You've got to do it as a picture in store. You've got all of these things you have to do as a store to get the word out about these books. And I'm happy to do it in a sense because I'm excited about these books and I want people to know about it. And someone saying oh yeah, let me get that on my list is a great feeling because it's yeah, you're going to love that book when it comes out. This is exciting. A lesser version of that is people who subscribe to books at our store ignore all of that stuff, and then the week it comes out are oh yeah, put that on my list. Where were you a month ago? Because again, I've mentioned this a million times in podcasts. When you're saying that, you still haven't read it. You don't have any more information than you would have had a month ago at FOCs or 2 months ago at initial order. But it's physically seeing it is okay, add it to my list. No. At least go home and read it, and then tell me you want to add it to your list, and that's different. That is new information, and I'll allow it.
And ultimately, adding it to your list is what we want. But in a perfect world...
Is what I want. Adding it to the list is a step towards buying it.
In a perfect world, you would have added it earlier.
That would have been more helpful. But, it's churlish to be angry at people who are excited about books and buy them because you say that you're excited about them too and that they should read them. That is what happens on Fridays. Molly Jane says, hey, there's these books that came out and they're really good.
And well, to be fair, people don't know that it's Molly Jane saying it.
Yeah, it's true.
It's not as if...
But I want there to be credit on the on the podcast of Molly Jane does the Friday emails. She does a good job with them.
Agreed. And I'm glad that she does it the way she does it.
Yeah.
But
although
people aren't saying yes because it's her.
No, it's true.
It's not like
that's what social media is for.
Yeah, it's not like this is the weekly Instagram video where this week her video was at 1,200 views.
Don't look at that stuff.
To our combined 700.
I don't care. I will never care about that.
Well, that's why we stopped doing company breakdowns.
Sure.
Because inevitably...
people would skip one or two of the other ones and miss a bunch of books.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never care about that, not just because I, to my bones, do not care about social media. Mostly because I don't look at it as Molly Jane got these views, and Patrick got these views, and Dal got these views. I look at it as Challengers got almost 2,000 views.
Right.
Great. I don't care how it's broken down. I don't care if 1,999 of them were Molly Jane. It's all for the store's benefit. Great. Into that. I will say, though, that we had a discussion about her moving some of the pre-order stuff up to the top of the email.
Yeah.
That didn't happen this week. It was all at the bottom.
Was it all at the bottom? I didn't read it. I thought it was going to be interspersed, which I thought would be more confusing.
It would, maybe that's why she decided not to do it. But that's the problem with the Friday emails that we were finding out. Is that...
you guys did a dive into the analytics.
Yeah, well, she was just what are people clicking on? And it's we can actually look and see what people are clicking on. And it's...
None of the final order cutoff stuff. It's just the stuff that's already out.
Got a click or two, just general Managed Comics, but none of the specific FOC books. So no one's clicking on any of those listings and adding them to her list. And now that she's in the exact same boat we are, she's realizing, all of that work I put into that was pointless. So the answer is put less time into that FOC stuff because what you feel like is the perfect amount of information that really tells everything about it and has both the solicit and the creators and why people might like it and what it's like. Don't bother. Just do a couple sentences because even if people read any of it, which they clearly are not reading all of it, that's the part they're going to read.
Well, I've liked I like the change that you made to the the monthly catalog solicitations.
Yeah.
Where it's hey, here's what they say. Now here's what we say.
Mm-hmm.
I like the we say part better.
Yeah, well, some of it is just a feeling that my hope was always that people would click the links and then go and see the full solicit text and the covers and everything else. But then it's like, well, that's one more additional step before, that someone's clicking blind, basically. So at least this way, like, there's a cover and here's what Marvel's pitch for the book is. And then we'll tell you, like, hey, here's the stuff Marvel's not going to tell you that we're excited about or that, we're curious about or whatever. And you want to give it a little bit of personality too.
Yeah, of course. But I also feel that when I do that on the Wednesday emails, it's almost too late because no one can subscribe to those.
It's tricky because what we end up getting the most is people reading it and then, like you send it out the Thursday before the book's released the following Wednesday. So it's 6 days before. So
it's too late to add those books to your list. And sometimes it's too late to add the next issue to your list as well.
That's the tricky thing about that Thursday email is that a lot of people will see it and then go, hey, can you add those to my list? And that's always infuriating for us because it's like, those are basically shelf copies. Like, you're asking for shelf copies now. And we don't like doing that.
The reason that email goes out is because that's not a subscriber-only email list. That's, well, actually, you know what? Now it's everybody gets the same thing.
Right. Everyone gets a list of everything that we're getting the next week.
Before we changed the audience ratio for our emails, that was the email that went to anybody on our mailing list versus the other emails that were just to subscribers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no, this one goes to everyone on our mailing list. The Thursday one?
Yeah, but they all do now.
That's true.
That's my point.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So, like,
I mean, some don't. Like,
so
the
my
new
point
catalog emails don't. Those still only go to subscribers.
Okay.
Because there's... In theory, they could go to everybody, but it just feels like, why are you pitching this to people that might... That don't pre-order with us?
And obviously, hey, here's what you're getting this week, obviously goes to subscribers only.
Right.
But the reason I'm bringing it up is for subscribers that read the email and say, well, if I can't subscribe to this, why am I getting it? It's to let everybody know what is available the next week.
Yeah, I think it still has value just to, even if it's, you can't add things, but you don't know what you're getting on your list necessarily until Tuesday night, right before the books come out on Wednesday, the night before. You could look at your subscription list and maybe, Managed Comics does a thing where it'll say, like, here are the release dates for the books on your list. But actually seeing a full list of everything that's coming out the next week, I think has value where, you can see everything that you're going to be getting and everything like, oh, I wonder what this is. And maybe I'll take a look at that when I'm in the store. We do want, one of the core things that I want at least to happen with the subscription service at all times is I want people to still, who can come into the store, to come into the store and look at the shelves. One of the biggest problems with people coming in less often is that it means that instead of looking at the New This Week section every week for 4 weeks, they're maybe looking at the New This Week section only for the 4th week. So there's a ton of stuff that they'll never be exposed to, that they won't see the new graphic novels, the new comics, they won't look through those things because they've already missed it, essentially. Like, it's filed in with everything else. We can't keep 4 separate weeks of new releases on the shelves in their own individual sections. We don't have the floor space for that.
Also, that's a awkward way to run a store.
I never liked that. I know there are definitely stores that do the new this week, new last week, new 2 weeks ago.
And that's fine.
And if they have success with that, great. I personally don't like it.
I remember
either as a shopper or as a store owner.
In the old days, in our previous life, we used to have new this week, new last week sign.
Yes, last week release signs.
But at the point that we introduced the last week release signs, I think new was green and last week was yellow.
It was like orange.
But it was initially it was like the very beginning it was a light yellow green.
Oh.
And that confused, like I literally had Marv Tazalar complaining that we tricked him.
There's a name.
Because the colors were too similar and he thought it was new this week, so he bought it and he already had it.
Oh, gosh.
Which, I mean, it was not, that was not the goal.
No.
But so there's an interaction today that is the way that we want things to be. A club member who had bought Hairball from a recommendation came in and said, "Can you add that to my list?"
Yep.
And of course we do. And it's too late because by the time he bought it and read it, it was too late to order, like for him to order number 2.
Yeah, on Managed Comics, the FOC date had already passed, so adding it to a subscription at this point would have started him with issue 3.
But I mean, I'm happy to do that at any point.
Yeah.
When someone's like, "Yeah, I like this book. I want to keep going with it."
Oh yeah, we want to facilitate that as much as we can. Yeah, give us a call, shoot us an email, whatever.
But it's when like you've read a couple, like if they're up to number 4 and you just read number 1, you're like, "Oh, can I get the rest?" That's harder to do.
Yeah. Much more difficult. Which, again, is one of the reasons why we want people coming into the store more often, because the more often they pick up the books, the more often, hopefully, fingers crossed, they read their books, and then they're able to more quickly tell you, hey, I want to add these to my subscriptions, instead of coming in once a month, and then it takes another month to read everything, and then you've read issue 1 of Guardians of the Galaxy, and you're like, I like this. And you're like, great, issue 4 just came out. Like, maybe there are reprints, maybe there are copies that we still have it, maybe there's a variant we can get. But all of this becomes more difficult than if you had picked up Guardians number 1 within 2 weeks of its release, and then we can add you to number 2 right away.
Yep.
These are all things that are, because of how quickly the market moves, we desperately want people to come in more often if they're able to do so.
And read their books as soon as they can so they don't miss out on things. Sure. Because
I read 2 books today.
For as often, like upcoming ones? Upcoming okay. Ones. As often as we try to go big on a number 1 that we believe in, sometimes when we do it, like a Great British Bump Off, it still gets out of our control. Like it hits.
There's another book that came out recently that happened with. I can't remember which one it was.
Not Danger, but a single issue one.
A single issue one, yeah. I think it was when Where Monsters Lie.
Yeah.
We went really big on issue 1, another Dark Horse book, and blew out of it within just a few weeks, and we had to reorder it, and we've had to reorder it again after that, I think.
And we still don't have number 1.
No, I think we're out of it right now.
However,
I mean, issue 4 is coming out.
We have this huge stack of number 3s.
Yes.
So how did people fall off of it after 2?
Oh, it's the same way it always happens. Issue 1 comes out, we've got a little spotlight. People are like, hey, what's good? What's new? Oh, check out Where Monsters Lie. Great. And then we won't see them for 3 months, and then they'll be like, yeah, I read that monster book, and it's like, cool, it's all over. These are the issues we have left. We will always sell multiples for a hot book, for a good recommended book, of issue 1 than we would sell for issue 2 and 3.
Oh, for sure.
Always. Way back when Ta-Nehisi Coates was doing Black Panther, I think we sold like 300 copies of issue 1. We did not sell 300 copies of issues 2 and 3.
No.
Not even close.
And we were down to club only by the end of his run of the first series.
That's how quickly it drops off. But we do what we can, but obviously the market being what it is and costs being what they are, it's very difficult for us to take, a insane stance on books that we love, just because what if it doesn't click with people? What if they don't care that we like it? What if it's not a genre they're into or whatever?
A book like Indigo Children, which is something that we pushed and pushed and pushed, it's getting there.
Yeah.
Sold a couple more today.
Yeah. But it was not, that was not going to be the example book, because it did not blow off the shelves. It does well, and we've got confidence in it. We think it's a book that people will want to stick with. And I mean, getting back to your point from an episode or 2 ago, the difficult thing with it, like a Great British Bump Off, is it's 4 issues.
Yeah.
So you're doing all this work for issue 1, and we're going to restock it, and we're going to hope 2, 3, and 4 sell, but then it's like, that's it, the end.
Now that when a book is pick of the week, and we use like all the covers in the little spot at the front counter, when somebody buys a specific cover online, you go to the new release wall, like, oh, are we out? Oh, wait, no, there should be one up at the front counter, hopefully. Yeah. It's more confusing that way. Somebody called today and was asking for what I thought was, they were saying Planet Terry, but they're just like, I'll just come in.
Okay.
So they came in, and what they were looking for, and it wasn't for them, that's why it was an issue.
Got it.
Was A Town Called Terror, because they were told a new issue was coming out today. Oh. And I said, that book ended back in September.
There was a collection.
No, we were told that the next issue is out today. I'm like, well, and I'm looking at the list. I'm like, okay, the collection is out today. Let me take you to the new release wall and show, and like put it in your hand. Mm-hmm. But if you were reading singles, you may already have everything. But it literally ended back in September. That was the last time an issue came out. They wound up buying the trade.
Okay, great.
Yeah. It works out okay. But sometimes it's just a matter of, what do you mean? That book is done? the book is over, which happens too often because people don't know when things are miniseries. But here's the thing, everything's a miniseries.
Well, and especially with Image stuff that can just go on a weird hiatus. That Heart Attack book is coming back after 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Was that Oni to begin with? Was that Image?
No, it was Image.
Thinking of a different Heart.
Yeah, Heart Stopper?
Yeah, maybe. No, Heartstopper is the
Heartbreaker?
manga. I don't know. You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Now, you mentioned earlier
I did.
Where Monsters Lie.
I did.
Who writes that?
Absolute Kyle Starks.
Who writes Peacemaker?
Absolute Kyle Starks.
Who wrote the best book of 2021? 6 Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton?
Absolute Kyle Starks.
Who's coming to Challengers for Free Comic Book Day?
Absolute Kyle Starks.
I thought it was Stephanie Meidad.
Oh, Stephanie Meidad's going to be there too. My favorite stuff.
So, Free Comic Book Day, we have Kyle Starks, who was at the store a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago tonight, during our anniversary party.
Yeah,
Russell Boy Kyle Starks came for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But he's coming in all day for Free Comic Book Day, and he's worried that his arm is going to fall off.
Let's make that happen.
Yeah, let's see what we can do.
Yeah. I want him to sign so many copies of Peacemaker Tries Hard that comes out that Wednesday. We'll have plenty of copies on his table.
You know what comes
Saturday.
out that Wednesday?
Where Monsters Lie number 4.
Peacemaker Tries Hard.
Yep. I Hate This Place.
Yep. It's a trifecta.
Yeah.
It's a Kyle Starks trifecta. When's the last time Kyle Starks had 3 books out?
Yeah. Complete Kyle Starks power.
Yeah, and we're trying to talk him into bringing all his own stuff to sell. He's like, nope, I'm just coming for you.
Yeah, we'll have our book club book for the month of May is 6 Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton.
Woo!
So we're going to have a bunch of copies of that. That's 10% off up until the book club, so you can actually pick it up at
Whoa,
Free Comic
hold
Book
on.
Day. 10% discount.
We're still giving
doing
10% discounts?
What
Did
a
we just
joke.
talk about this? Come on.
But that you can pick that up at Free Comic Book Day, get it signed by Absolute Kyle Starks, and then read it, bring it to the book club for later in May.
What a great idea.
What a great idea. It's going to be a fun day.
And Stephanie Meidad, who has done a lot of work for Challengers in the past, including a lot of the graphics for Blue, may it rest in peace, and has her own wrestling-themed graphic novel series coming out this fall, Club Kickout.
And then we've also got her previous book, Martian Ghost Centaur,
Yeah.
that she did the art on.
And she's writing and drawing Club Kickout, and it's all wrestling-themed. It's
cool.
How great is that? And I like the idea of having... as I was explaining to Kyle, Stephanie's also a Wrestle Boy. Mm-hmm. So we have the Wrestle Boys.
Very excited to spend a little prep time before the store opens on Free Comic Book Day talking to them about wrestling.
Yep. George
George
messaged today. He's like, hey, did you see AEW's coming? I'm like, yeah, I can't go. I'm going to see the Eels that night. Sorry.
Do we know what Wrestle Boy Stephanie Meidad's fandom is? Like, is she WWE, New Japan,
I assume
AEW?
New Japan,
Okay.
Stardom.
Okay.
Yeah. I assume she knows that Kenny Omega is the best in the world.
Yes. God of professional wrestling.
God of professional wrestling. Don Callis didn't just split his head wide open.
Uh-huh.
He got his mouth busted up.
Gross.
And his neck is all hurt.
The BBC are bullies.
Yeah, they are. Here's the thing I don't like about Free Comic Book Day, and that is a thing from today.
Okay.
Today, UPS showed up just before 4 o'clock
With PRH.
with PRH
14 boxes.
and Simon & Schuster.
14 boxes.
So, we're not done because...
Did they label the boxes at all?
No. Well, only the full cases.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's easy to figure out. You know why it's easy to figure out?
Because they put a label on the top that tells you what's inside.
No. Well, those are on the inside of the flap when you open it.
Oh, they're usually on the outside of the flap.
They were different boxes this week.
Oh, okay.
They were not the normal boxes. And it turns out the different boxes were the Free Comic Day book boxes.
Okay.
But you don't know that until you open it.
Sure.
And those had the labels in the flap.
Weird.
But no, here's the thing that I hate. All of the Free Comic Day books from Marvel and IDW are shrink wrap bundles
Okay.
of 25.
Okay.
That's a lot of shrink wrap bundles.
It's a lot of shrink wrap bundles.
And the IDW ones, which is infuriating, are also bundled. They're also
The ties around them?
the tie under the shrink wrap.
Like against the books?
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's bundled and then shrink wrapped.
That doesn't feel
So it's, and then the boxes are oversized, so they're crammed with paper.
Yeah.
They're not, those boxes were not double boxed.
Sure.
It's just frustrating because of, it's already so much extra work.
It is.
And now, like,
I mean, the good news is you don't have to check in all of the Free Comic Book Day books right now. You can leave those aside. We can unwrap them on Sunday. It's not a big deal.
I mean, that's all we didn't get through today.
Sure. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, I have Andrew tomorrow.
Okay, great.
And I'm pretty sure
Sounds
he
like
knows
it's
how to
taken
count.
care of then.
Yeah. But those were, and the boxes were mixed.
You mean the Free Comic Book Day comics are mixed up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you have like a bundle of like...
Spidey and Friends,
Spidey and then
Spider-Man,
Turtles.
Marvel Voices. The IDW is separate.
Okay.
That's not true. They had also Marvel Voices in the bottom of that box.
Okay, interesting.
But the IDW ones were at least contained with extra Marvel stuff. But the other, like, if it wasn't a full case, it was mixed.
Gotcha.
And frustrating and annoying. But I hate the shrink wrap piles. I get it. It's easier to count. It's easier to sort. It's just, it's not as if we're just getting those and that's all we have to work on.
Yeah, checking in the period stuff generally is a lot of additional work because of how terrible a lot of their packaging is and how redundant they have to make a lot of levels of it just to make sure the books are only slightly dinged up when they get to you as opposed to completely destroyed. So checking in a pile of comic books is open the exterior box, take the paper out, take the interior box out, open up the interior box, take the side, like the top level off, and then take the comics out, and then do that for 13 more boxes, and then everything has to get checked in, and then that's just to get it to the point where you can start checking it in. Like,
yeah,
it's a lot of work. Everything is a lot more work than it used to be.
And all their boxes are glued at the bottom, so when you're breaking them down to recycle, it's not as easy as just slicing the tape and it's open. You have to tear them
I tear
apart.
with my goddamn bare hands.
Same.
I love doing it.
Same thing.
I love it.
I don't love it.
I don't love doing the diamond boxes. Tearing the diamond boxes is way more work because sometimes you get boxes where they just seemingly double up the glue.
Yes,
so you're
do.
like, I gotta get a finger under here and just I gotta torque it a little bit to create enough separation. But yeah, peerage boxes, super easy. Tear. Throw in bin. I love it.
But that was like at the end of the day, it's like, okay, Gina had a bolt right at 5, and this is our last
Till 5 day.
5 day. Yeah. And I'm like, I just stayed after and took all the boxes and back and tore them all up and cut through. And the way the some of the Free Comic Day books were shipped, the boxes they're in are not good for storing them long term. So I had to take boxes out of the recycling that I had already torn up and rebuild them to make it easier to stack and whatnot.
Sure.
I mean, better getting things weeks in advance, slowly.
I think we get Lunar this week. Maybe we've already gotten Lunar.
We've already gotten Lunar.
Yeah, I didn't check in this week. And then the remainder of Diamond, I think, is this week, and that's sort of it.
I think
that's it.
Yeah, I still have to, maybe Wednesday afternoon I'll go to the storage facility and start digging out shelves and stuff.
Okay.
Because, Wednesdays were so busy.
Sure.
Hey, Dal, what comics did you read today?
I read 2 previews from DC Comic Books.
Ooh, I might have read them as well.
I read Green Lantern #1.
I did read Green Lantern #1.
And I read Batman Brave and the Bold #1.
I have that open on my desktop.
64 pages.
Yeah.
I'll start with Batman Brave and the Bold then, so you can knock that out. It's an anthology title, another new anthology title from DC. It is not exclusively Batman, even though it's, I would say, primarily Batman. There's a Stormwatch story in it. There's a Superman story in it.
It seems weird that these are all characters that have their own... Well, I guess Stormwatch doesn't have...
Sure.
You said Stormwatch, in my head I heard Wildcats.
Right. But the main story is a full length, as in like 22 pages, Batman story by the Mr. Miracle team of Tom King and Mitch Gerads.
That's the selling point.
It is also the first time Batman faces Joker. So it is that story. It's basically the first time the GCPD is aware of the Joker's existence, and Batman is still like beating up mobsters and stuff.
Isn't that Batman the Man Who Laughs?
Yeah, it's portions of that.
Okay.
It's absolutely like their version of The Man Who Laughs. It's great.
Is it self-contained or is it
No,
part one?
serialized. There's a bunch of stories in this that are going to be serialized. The Stormwatch thing is serialized. The Superman thing is serialized. There's a new Dan Moore written and drawn backup that I think is maybe serialized, but maybe not. But it's a black and white, futuristic, alternate reality Batman who's kind of a Kamen Rider, which I was really excited about.
Wow.
So that was good.
Can't wait for that Batman black and white statue, can you?
I would buy it. It's a 64-page issue, so I realize it's going to be a turnoff for some folks. I think it's like $8. The Tom King Mitch Gerads story 100% delivers, especially if you liked the One Bad Day Riddler that they did. It's tonally very much in that vein. It's very dark. It's very creepy. The take that Tom King has on writing the Joker for this is, I don't think I've seen anyone do it before.
Okay.
And it's like a horror movie. It's great.
And it's
I
interesting
liked it
you
a
say
lot.
that because you did not like Batman One Bad Day Riddler.
No, I thought it went too far.
And
Joker can kind of get away with it, though. With the
Yeah,
Joker
okay.
story, it's like,
Okay.
yeah, I can see it.
sure.
And it's not the sort of like omniscient Riddler that bugged me in One Bad Day. This is more of a beginning Joker, and it's the creepiness is just they don't have a word for him yet, basically. So what he's doing, no one is prepared for, which makes it very cool. I like that. Even the Stormwatch story, it's a weird PDF because there's not really credits on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know who did the Stormwatch thing. It's Jeff Stokes, I think, did the art, and I don't remember who. In the credits for this listed a month ago, I might have known who the writer was, but I don't remember. But I thought that was pretty solid. It's not great. It's not a book I would read on its own, but as part of this bigger package with other stuff I enjoyed in it, I thought it was great. I don't remember who did the Superman story. It feels like maybe either like Nick Dragotta or Paulo Rivera. I kind of don't know. I think Paulo Rivera maybe. But it's a neat Superman Clark Lois story. And then the Dan Moore thing in the back was really good. I think that was everything in the comic. It was I really enjoyed it. As a 64-page comic, which is asking a lot of me as someone who reads a lot of DC comics already, to sit down for a 64-page anthology that does not feel like it has a reason to exist, it was absolutely worth it.
Nice.
I think it's worth checking out. People's mileage may vary. I don't know if it's going to continue to be something that people will want to pay $8 an issue for, depending on how many stories in an issue you're digging. But I think the Batman thing by King Gerads is 100% worth checking out. And I will probably be ordering accordingly this weekend.
Nice.
What'd you think of Green Lantern?
I actually liked it. And
did too.
Here's the thing. My favorite Green Lantern stories are the ones that take place on Earth. I want
That's when I came in.
supporting
Emerald Dawn.
cast. Yeah, see, mine was a new era for Green Lantern. It was Len Wein and Dave Gibbons.
Yeah, mine was Gerard Jones and
Daryl Banks?
Pep
Mark
Broderick.
Bright? Oh, okay.
Mark Bright did Emerald Dawn, but Pep Broderick, I think, was doing like the main book.
So it was literally a Chicago Comic-Con panel that George and I sat in on and saw Len Wein talking all about his upcoming Green Lantern. We're like, we'll give that a try. And that was it. And there's obviously, there's space cops and it's cosmic and there's all these sci-fi elements to it. But I just like the Earth stories with his Earth supporting cast and his Earth life. And I didn't go for the Grant Morrison, Liam Sharp
2000 AD stuff?
Yeah, it was too 2000 AD for me.
It's Green Lantern, Hal Jordan specifically, is a tricky thing because a lot of what makes it work is the mix of the Earth-based drama and supporting cast and then like the sci-fi alien adventure stuff.
Yeah.
And it feels like DC as a company is, instead of integrating both of those things, they're basically just doing eras where it's like, all space. Okay, that didn't work, or people are tired of it, or it's run out of gas. All Earth. And, and this one, we're kind of in the, all right, people are kind of tired of all of the space stuff. Let's just ground Hal Jordan, and let's see what we can do with him fighting supervillains on Earth for a little bit.
The previous Green Lantern series was the all-space one, and this is the one that came after the Grant Morrison one.
Right.
and it just wasn't for me.
No.
But
Because it was all core stuff, too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And this is kind of doing the Grant Morrison thing of, like, let's just deal with Hal Jordan as a character. What's his deal? Like, how does, test pilot, space cop guy work in this specific medium? Like, what is he doing?
I think when I was talking to you about it before you had read it, I like the fact that they're trying to modernize the idea of pilots, Air Force pilots, in today's world, with the fact that that's not really a thing anymore.
It feels like there's a big chunk of it for the Hal Jordan test pilot stuff that feels very like, I saw Top Gun Maverick. Like, it's very Hal Jordan as Maverick, where he's the guy that has been out of it, has not been around, feels like he still has something that he can offer, but is also kind of a relic. Like, he's not, like, there's young guys that are like, they don't see what is valuable about him, and he has to kind of, find some way to work within that, at the same time being a guy that's like, maybe not super reliable, because he comes at things in a test pilot way, and he's very reckless and dangerous.
Now, I don't know in this iteration if Carol Ferris knows that he's Green Lantern.
I think she does.
I couldn't really tell.
I think she does, and I think she doesn't care.
But there's a lot of DC books.
There's a mention in there to one of her Star Sapphire things.
See, that's a thing that's a comment he made.
And she does not respond to it, so she knows it. She's just like, no, shut up.
Okay.
This isn't for public discussion.
There's several DC books that have backups that I think are unnecessary.
Carol Ferris is totally the Jennifer Connelly in that book. She's like, no more romances with you, you unreliable man that I secretly love. Okay, great.
But having a John Stewart backup in Green Lantern, I think, works great.
It does. I don't love Philip Kennedy Johnson.
No, I don't either. But I thought that this was a good take. They're doing some. They're trying to do some specific character defining stuff. They're taking like the most important thing in John Stewart's life and building off of that.
Right.
And I thought the art was good too.
I like the art in the Hal Jordan stuff more than the art.
I did too. I think the art in the John Stewart one was more stylized, but in a way that worked.
Yeah, it fit the story they were telling for sure. It didn't.
But wasn't this book initially going to be called Lanterns? And it was
so I think originally
Mariko Tamaki and
I remember that.
Yeah, she was writing the Hal Jordan story.
Now it's Jeremy Adams. Again, mine didn't have credits, so I don't know who did what.
Jeremy Adams is the Flash guy, right?
Yeah, he was the previous Flash guy. Or the current Flash guy who's about to be the previous Flash guy.
Yeah.
Because it's already Seisberger.
Yeah. But everyone who stuck with Flash, I was not that person.
Right, me neither.
Raved about it.
1 Minute War got a lot of really high praise a lot of different places. Not in like a, it's going to win an Eisner, but just this is a really good superhero book that people are not checking out.
But I left during the guy who was doing it after Josh Williamson.
I didn't even do the Josh Williamson stuff. I gotta tell you, like, I have not read The Flash. In like years.
They were doing
Brian Buccoletto and Francis Manapul. I thought the art was good, but the story I didn't care about. I think I checked in for like a few issues of Rebirth because of the art.
Yeah.
Carmen DiGiandomenico was doing it, and I'm like, this is gorgeous. And I think who did they have as like their B artist? It was like Neil Googe or somebody. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah, it was Neil Googe.
But the story did not connect with me. Josh Williamson on superhero stuff for the longest time for me was not really working. But I think I like him more now in other books.
But they were doing a Wally back in time through different speedsters' bodies thing.
I didn't like that.
And that's when I quit.
No.
That's when I left. But I don't remember who was writing that.
Jeremy Adams, I think, wasn't it?
Was it?
I thought he did this whole thing since, like, he was the guy who came on after Williamson.
There was somebody in between him and Williamson
I don't know,
and Adams.
maybe.
But anyway, that's the point I left as well.
Yeah.
But Andrew loves it because he's a big Flash guy.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this a bunch of times. It's surprising to me how much DC stuff I'm excited about and how much I'm actually enjoying now.
Yeah.
After a long time of them not doing stuff that I was really into, I was really excited for this year as the dawn of DC stuff was actually delivering iterations of these characters where I'm like, yes, into it. And then today they announced Night Terrors, a Josh Williamson spearheaded 4-issue miniseries that has 20 different 2-issue miniseries across 2 months.
That was announced today. That was announced months ago.
But they announced all of the books
specifics,
today.
Yeah, I know Jeremy Hahn is writing and drawing the Black Adam two-parter.
Yeah, this is the huge problem. Is
and that's their Free Comic Day book.
you know who's writing
Nightmares.
the Batman one? Not Chip Zdarsky. You know
Yeah.
who's writing the Wonder Woman one? Not Tom King. You know who's writing the Flash one? Not Cy Spurrier, and so on and so forth.
Right.
Ad infinitum. It is going to be very difficult for us to make money on DC books for those 2 months because while there will probably be a level of buy-in from people, it's not going to be commensurate with what we've been expecting for the dawn of DC books over the last 3 months.
And let's just make it clear right now. If you are getting Superman, we are not copying over.
No, because it's a different creative team. It's a different
completely
story.
different. No,
you have to
nothing.
tell us.
You have
And
to
some
tell us.
people will. There's probably, 6 to 12 DC subscribers that'll be like, yeah, I want all those. Because they're already getting all the DC superhero books that come out. But if we sell 25 copies of the Batman one, we've taken a huge hit on Batman for the month.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For 2 months.
2 months.
So I don't know. The whole catalog hasn't come out yet. So I don't know if I would be more upset if DC would be skipping all of their normal superhero books for 2 months to make room for these titles, or if they were doing them in addition to. Because at least the second one, I can choose to not carry a whole lot of copies, and they may
Yep.
be returnable anyway, and that's
Sure.
fine. But I still get the new Tom King Wonder Woman, the new, all of the new Dawn of DC stuff that has just started can keep going, and I can keep selling it, and I can sell Josh Williamson's Superman and Chip Zdarsky's Batman and whatever else. But if they're skipping all of those titles for 2 months to do Night Terror's Batman and Night Terror's Superman and Night Terror's Zatanna and Night Terror's Teen Titans, that sucks. And that's way worse for me than if they were doing Titans number 3, which I would rather them do.
Well,
So
we'll find
that
out.
was an announcement today that I wasn't crazy about. On the other hand, Marvel has been announcing more of the titles for Fall of X.
Okay.
They'd released a Brian Hitch piece of promo artwork and then a bunch of titles without really telling you what they
Yeah.
were. A lot of the ones that were new titles now got announced today. Alpha Flight is Ed Brisson, and I can't remember who the artist is.
Okay.
The thing that's tough about a lot of the solicits is something happens in the Hellfire Gala / Fall of X that necessitates all of these weird titles that are happening, but they won't tell us what it is yet.
Krakoa blows up.
I mean, it seems like something really bad happens, because
Yeah.
it's like, because of Fall of X, Canada has a mutant super team and also Sentinels now. And the mutant super team is to defuse mutant situations, and it's all because of something that happened in Fall
Okay.
of X. The most interesting one, there's Children of
You
the
already
Vault.
said Alpha Flight.
No, Alpha Flight, it's neat. Children of the Vault is one. It's written by Dennis Camp, who's doing 20th Century Men at Image. It's another 4-issue miniseries. I don't really see much in it for us. They'll do okay. It's like Children of the Atom in the
I
sense of
almost
like,
confused Dennis Camp with Dennis Culver.
nobody's going to care. Uncanny Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Nightcrawler becomes a Spider-Man
Huh.
by Cy Spurrier.
Okay.
He
Wait, you
gets
just said Dennis Camp.
is doing Children of the Vault.
Oh, right. Okay. You didn't elaborate on that one.
It's the Children of the Vault characters.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, who cares? I guess it's kind of neat that there's some development for them, but I don't care. I've never cared about them as characters. They're cool to look at,
Yeah.
but as antagonists, it's like they're a theoretical concept. I don't care. Didn't care when Mike Hare was writing them. Didn't care when Hickman was writing them. Didn't care
Hey,
when
I
Dugan
like
was
the
writing
idea
them.
of Nightcrawler as a Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's a very cool idea. That one's 5 issues, I think. Cy Spurrier, and I cannot remember the artist, but it's someone who did something fairly recently. But not like, none of these are huge names. These are all
Yeah, sure.
Lower
I
level
get it. I
talents.
get it. Yeah, and obviously that's not a concept that's going to stick.
No, all of this stuff feels like it's just to take us through like the summer and into the fall, and then we'll see what happens.
Of X.
Yes, what the next stage of these characters is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you'd like Uncanny Spider-Man.
Yep.
The cover, unfortunately, Tony Daniel, but the costume is kind of cool. It's a cool like black costume with a red spider. I dig it.
One of the most annoying things about Spider things
Mm-hmm.
is I had to look up the Dennis Hopeless Spider-Woman collection
Yes,
because someone's adding it,
yes.
and that
We're
series
carrying that for the shelf.
was spectacular. Are we
Sorry,
though?
we are.
Because everything that I looked up, we either had no orders or just one.
That one's for the shelf.
Well, I still added one of each of the things in the cart for
No,
Jasmine.
I don't think
to make
anyone
sure.
pre-ordered it.
Okay.
Until today.
But the point is, one of the best things about that series was her new costume.
yes.
And the cover is her in the red suit.
Yeah, it sucks.
And like her falling backwards.
Yeah.
It's an awful cover when it's basically biker Spider-Woman is what we all
Biker
want.
pregnant Spider-Woman.
Yeah.
Put that on the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad it exists, if nothing else.
Yeah. I'm like, part of me is like, oh, should I have ordered that? Because I love that series, but I didn't buy those issues. I just read them.
Best porcupine stories ever.
Right? All right. Well, if there's one thing to get across to people as far as new comics go, since we talked all about the books that we have raved about and people haven't signed up for, Titans #1.
Yeah, I hope it's good. I haven't read a preview of it yet. I hope
We
they send
haven't
that
either,
soon.
but we've got such high hopes for it.
Really do, yeah.
Story, art, all of it. So in that, we haven't FOC'd that yet, right?
No.
So sign up for it now.
Yeah, please do. And I mean, this if you're listening to this now, it's probably... Wait, when does this go out to patrons?
Tomorrow? The 15th?
So if you're a patron and you're listening to this, you can still sign up for Green Lantern #1 and Brave and the Bold #1. If you are a subscriber who's not a patron and you're listening to this on Sunday or Monday or later...
It'd be Sunday night or Monday.
Well, I just mean like they could be listening to it
Sure.
when they start their commute because everyone's going back to work. Give us a call, shoot us an email, tell us when you come into the store that you want to add those books. We'll make sure that you get the series starting with issue 1.
Okay, Dal.
Patrick.
We've been building up to this the whole episode.
We have.
What are your thoughts on the brand new comic book publisher, Distiller?
Oh, I think it's...
Okay, we are out of time. Thank you for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.